This is my Landcruiser 78 Troopy. It was featured in the 2012 television series. That series alone has attracted over 1 million views on YouTube, with many questions about this vehicle. I dubbed it the ultimate world cruiser. Questions like, what suspension did I use? What fridge did I use? What seat covers did I use? What, you name it. Well, here are some of those questions answered. The most asked question, what suspension did I use? Well, EFS springs and shocks. Why? Well, they're a lesser known brand, very well respected, and had some experience with them, decided to give them a try, very happy. The rear springs, we had to remove one of the leaves, the standard spring was too hard. Aluminium, yeah, very good quality. Don't shoot me for this. I'm not a fan of their shock absorbers. I think their springs are excellent. XJS, similar thing really. Not crazy about their springs, great shock absorbers. If I had to change this vehicle now, what would I do? I'd leave the springs, but I would change the shock absorbers to Koni Raids. Outstanding shock absorbers. I also added Firestone air springs to help cope with high loads, which up to now I haven't needed to use. One product I tested just prior to coming on this trip. It's from the USA and it allows me to check the quality of my oil during my trip. Well, I'm in Johannesburg Suburban Garden. My vehicle is being readied by myself for my trip to Botswana. It's been used over the last 2 years, quite sparingly, on and off, few trips, and stored for long periods. So my big question is, do I do an oil change? Well, one part of me is saying, yeah, well, you have to do an oil change because, I mean, you know, but they're quite expensive. This thing takes almost 12 litres of oil. Spare parts, of course, not cheap, etc. Do I really need to do an oil change? How do I know? Well, I can't know unless I've got one of these. Now, this was a Kickstarter campaign. This is a crowdfunding campaign that started several years ago. Holding the camera as well, that's why I've got to use my teeth. It basically is a portable device where I can put a little bit of oil in that centerpiece and it will tell me if I need to service and change my oil. Isn't that smart? I've never used it before. This is so you are with me, trying it for the first time. And it's very important that the disc, and you can see there, it's actually flashing red and green, which it's supposed to do. I've switched it on to diesel. It can use for petrol motors as well. So it's going to be a little bit messy, but I've got enough oil on the end of that dipstick to do the job. And I'm going to put that oil on the... And they say it's very important to cover the disc in the oil. And now let's have a look. And we press test. It's giving me single flash green. There it is there. Can you see that flash there? Now I'm going to press the test, I'm going to turn it off again and you can see the process, so we know it's working. If I turn it on and then I press test. So in effect what this little guy has done is it saved me an oil change. If it was kind of close to the red, I probably would have done one. This trip hasn't got a huge mileage ahead of it, so I don't really need to worry. Probably about 3,000 kilometers. But it saved me an oil change that I would have done completely unnecessarily. Seat covers. I chose Tackler. A number of reasons. I like a waterproof seat cover. They are 100% waterproof. Why? Because, well, when one sweats, the seat can, if it's not waterproof, will actually absorb the sweat. So you then climb out of the vehicle, you get back into the vehicle, you've dried off, but the seat remains damp from the sweat. It can be very uncomfortable. But of course the seat cover's other primary function is to protect the seat. So I needed to find out how well they did that, and recently I put on my Mythbusters gear to find out how good they are at it. It's Mythbusters time. I've asked the guys from Tackler to assemble some noxious chemicals. I want to try and destroy this thing. What happens if our 3-year-old decides that they take a ballpoint pen or a crayon and they start writing on it? So So they write a little, well, what would you use to clean that? You would use, so thinners. And now I'm gonna clean it. Okay. How about enamel paint? So what would you use to get it off? Turpentine, I suppose. Let's see what happens here with this turpentine. But you know what is interesting? So while we've been doing this, the thinners on the ink has vanished completely, and we haven't washed this. And now what I've been looking forward to do actually all day, to take some contact adhesive and cut. Oh dear, oh dear. Now what would you do to get that off? Benzene is very carcinogenic. Lots of it. Right. Wow, look at that. Benzene's really, really working on this stuff. Now the whole point of waterproof is that the paint, the acetone, the glue, the benzene doesn't destroy the seat. I mean, obviously you'd take the seat cover off the seat for safety and practicalities before you would clean it, but your seat is properly protected. I'm amazed. Now the last one is the one that I have not been looking forward to, and that is hydrochloric acid. All right, it's damaging the fabric. Okay, but it's done the job. It's protected the seat. Right, now, the most common place of wear on a seat cover is the squab here. So I've devised a test where I take one of these, and this rotates, well, it oscillates at 24,000 RPM. So if I put it on there for 10 seconds, it is the equivalent of 4,000 entries and exits from the vehicle. With somebody wearing, this is about, it's 180 grit. Let's try it. I can't see any sign at all. That was 10 seconds with 180 grit. I cannot see. Wow, that's quite impressive. This material is pretty strong stuff. I don't know if it's tear proof, but it does not tear easily, even when it's cut. I wonder if this could tow a vehicle. So that's test number one, but now I'm determined to actually break this piece of fabric. So we've now put in actually a stronger piece. It's now properly cut, not an off cut like the last piece, and we're going off-road. Broke. Well, this is not really a serious test, of course, but the others were, and proves that if a seat cover is waterproof, it's going to protect it a great deal more than one that is just water resistant or even completely porous.
Okay, let's cut this one.
Those of you who saw last year's series would recognize this. This is my green Landcruiser 78 Troopy, and I spent several years developing it, and in the last series 2 trips to the Ritzelsveld and 1 to Botswana testing it. But there was something I forgot to do, and kick myself. You see, after the trip, particularly the one in Botswana, which is actually in this series, the vehicle came back looking quite tatty because I'd forgotten to do something very important. You see here, it's quite bad here, stone chips. You know, I really should actually take it off and have it repainted, but crazy. I mean, just this little bit of damage, and I could have prevented it. Sorry, I just cut my hand, and I just asked them here for some Band-Aid to. This isn't Band-Aid. This is Elastoplast. I asked for Band-Aid. What's the matter with them?
Yes, well, what I was actually talking about is I forgot to do something about protecting my vehicle from scratches in the bush. I mean, this vehicle is valuable. I can't afford to just replace it. So what am I going to do about protecting the bodywork? Otherwise, every time I go into the bush, I'm going to be worried about scratching it, and bush travel's going to be no fun at all.
But I think I got lucky here. No scratches on the bonnet. No stone chips or nothing. I cut myself earlier, and it's healing, but needs a little bit of help. And the reason why I made a fuss about the fact that I wasn't given a Band-Aid and was given Elastoplast instead is because, well, what I'm now doing to the vehicle, it's the same problem. Vehicle protection shield is now used synonymously with anything that is used to coat the outside of the vehicle to protect it against scratches and bumps, including polishes, and of course this particular product, Scotchgard plastic. So this now will do the job perfectly, adequately. But now you can go into a fitment center and ask for VPS, and they'll give you VPS, but they won't actually give you VPS. So what you need to do is you make sure by asking for VPS, Vehicle Protection Shield. Otherwise you might get something else, which doesn't work as well. It's badly fitted. Now, in the category of Vehicle Protection Shield come products like polishes and plastics, like this particular one fitting to the Landcruiser is a 3M Scotchgard product, ideally suited to heavy-duty use, four-wheel drives. There are other similar 3M products better suited to BMWs and Mercedes-Benzes and Toyotas, ideally suited to vehicles that spend most of their time in and around town and on the open road, not in the bush. But tell me, could a polish, I mean there are polishes that are also called Vehicle Protection Shield, could a polish possibly protect as well as this very, very strong material? I can't imagine it.
I'm also having my headlights protected. Actually, it's amazing. It protects not only from sand, grit, and of course small stones. It starts with the leading edge of the bonnet and can go all the way around with a full body wrap. Now, these are my friends, so I've asked a little favour of them. I'm not going to have the wheel arches resprayed, but I've asked them to add some additional protection and to help with the aesthetics as well. Now, if I have a close look in a bleak light, I can see how the VPS shield is hiding all the little scratches. Boy, I wish I'd done this earlier.
I'm an advocate of the raised air intake, although I don't think that they should be necessarily high up on the overlander's priority list. It's a nice to have, but not a have to have. But what they do is the air that goes into the engine will be a little bit cooler, it'll be a little bit cleaner. And I also chose Safari Snorkel, well-known brand. There are some other makes in the market where you'll pay a lot less. The plastics on some of them deteriorate very, very rapidly in the sun. It's a good product, I've used them for years. Choice of traction aids. I chose Max Trax. They work. I've proved that they work. I also like them because they're lightweight. You know, these vehicles, the moment we add a piece of kit, we're increasing weight. We're increasing the stress on the drivetrain and on tires. We're increasing fuel consumption. We're reducing range because we can't carry as much fuel because we're using up the weight with sometimes unnecessary accessories. They're lightweight and they work. The fridges I've chosen are made by Snowmaster. Well, I think Snowmaster is the best value for money fridge around. What's important about a fridge? Well, different people look at different things. For me personally, I like the idea of being able to freeze and use a refrigerator and have the choice. I've got a large compartment and I can use it for both fridge or freezer, depending, and a small one likewise. So I can choose two separate controls, so I have total freedom of what I use for what. Current draw, very efficient. Build quality, outstanding. Price, really good compared to what's on the market. Not necessarily the cheapest, but definitely not the most expensive. And really very, very good. But there's a little feature of this fridge that I like very, very much, and this is it.
It's a remote control that fits into the cigar lighter.
Firstly, it tells me how my battery's doing. Voltage-wise, there it is, 12.8 volts. I've got two fridges running at the moment. Solar panel on the roof, taking care of that. Gives me compartment 1 and compartment 2. I can now set compartment, so if I decide to drop the temperature, set, and then drop the temperature to that compartment, and likewise set that one to freeze. Now done. So now it tells me that the compressor is spinning, and remotely it will tell me the temperature of my fridge and freezer. This also Snowmaster fridge is my cool drinks fridge. I put the lunch stuff in there. Fantastic. I can just grab as I'm driving. And the other wonderful thing is that this vehicle doesn't have armrests, but now it does. My choice of wheel rims raised a few eyebrows. 17-inch. Well, I would have preferred 16-inch, yes, but I wanted to go mags. Mag rims will give me lighter weight, lower rolling resistance, better fuel economy, and it'll decrease the unsprung weight, so it'll give me better comfort. But they don't make a good strong mag rim in 16-inch. At least I couldn't find one. This is 17-inch XT series, very, very strong rim. The only real disadvantage, and I've only gone up 1 inch, so the fact that the rim is slightly bigger and the profile of the tire is slightly smaller, is a slight disadvantage off-road, but minor, really insignificant. I would call it insignificant. If I damage that mag rim off-road, it's going to be difficult to fix. Steel rim is definitely easier to fix. It's a compromise I'm willing to live with. The second test now of the Lubri check. We've done 1,650 kilometers, and I'm going to see how well I make sure that it's covered, and I press test. Okay, no change, so my oil is still 100%, no problem at all, no need for me to go and do an oil change, or even close to it as far as I can see. I have of course done the strip in my own Landcruiser 78 with the special roof conversion that was done by Alucab. Now since then, Alucab have, well, built, I don't know the numbers, but built many similar products for clients. But they've gone one step further. They've developed a Land Rover Defender. And in fact, in doing so, they built a very special Defender indeed as their product demo. Well, as a live-in expedition vehicle, I have to say that everything that I set out to achieve, I've achieved. There are a few minor things that I would change, but they're so minor. In fact, Alucab has adopted those changes to vehicles that they're producing in terms of changes to the rooftop tent. If you're considering having a vehicle built like this for yourself, I can do it for you. Yes, you can go to Alucab, they can do the roof, they do it very well, and they can do a lot of the elements inside the vehicle as well. But this vehicle, there are a lot of parts of it that are my expertise, my adaptations to get it just right. So if you would like a vehicle, you need to contact me directly. I will consult with Alucab and other companies and build you your vehicle. It will be adapted for your specific needs. I can build left-hand drive vehicles in the UK, and I can build right-hand drive vehicles in South Africa.